Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible.com. Get a free audiobook download and a 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/usingyourpower. Over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player.
Welcome to Using Your Power. I'm David Wiebe, and joining me is
Maveen, Kaura.
How's it going, Mav?
Man, I'm great today. How are you today, David?
I'm powered up, man.
Powered up? Every episode you're powered up. I love it.
That's the idea.
Yeah, and I'm doing always great. So there's no differences with our moods. I think we should try to change our moods once in a while.
Yeah, we shouldn't be so synchronized.
Exactly. So what's our topic today?
We're going to use our power to explore the future of smartphones.
Okay, and why did this topic come up?
I think it was an interesting first of all, I just thought it was a pretty interesting topic to think about and discuss. And also possibly just the fact that, either we'll have a multi-purpose device that replaces smartphones entirely, or not even have smartphones in the future just because of how advanced and how much things change over time. So to me, it's an interesting thing to consider just because everybody has one, everybody's using it, and we use it as our primary communication tool, research tool, entertainment tool, and so much more. And I think it's interesting to consider where things might be going with that.
Right on. And I think the way both of us may have looked at it is slightly different. I think I looked at it how it's being more used right now. I think you may have taken a little bit more of a future step potentially.
Yeah.
So we'll definitely try to give you both of where it is right now, where it might go in the short term, and where it's going to be going probably in the long term.
Yeah, exactly. And I think even some speculative things about making predictions or just thinking about where it might go might also be fun for everybody involved. I picked up a couple stats from geo-marketing. I wouldn't say these are like hugely compelling or anything, but I will mention them just to give you a sense of scope. So nearly 75% of U.S. adults will use a smartphone in 2017, which is this year for us, in case you happen to be listening to this in the future. And users spend over 20 minutes per day on social media on their phones. So people are connecting a lot on social media, and most people now have one.
Yeah, I like the idea of what you said with user using spending about 20 minutes a day, because that's a lot of time if you really think about how many times we actually go on to social media per day. Most people are probably going 5, 6 to 10 times a day.
Yeah.
We're typically spending maybe 30, 40 seconds on each one, looking at our pictures and scanning and liking and commenting and doing something really quick, and then we're on to the next social media platform. And you do that many, many times a day, and then you end up spending 20 or more minutes a day on it. So although 20 minutes sounds small, when you're doing it continually through the day, it adds up.
Yeah, big time does.
Right. So, one of the things I was thinking about, more and more people are Googling everything, right? I know Google is definitely the place to be. I know there's still other search engines out there. I'd be hard pressed to tell you which ones other than Bing. But again, I don't even know how many people use that, right? I didn't do the research and stats on that, but I think Google is just so prominent in people's, wording, right? I know If you don't know it, what do? You Google it. I know that's kind of pretty much what a lot of people say, right? And I think they have a lot of different ways too, because they've optimized all the important articles that they want you to see or they feel will drive the most value to people. So I think one of the things, even for smartphones, what Google is trying to do is make sure everybody's websites are optimized for that. So you can get the most important information on there. And even with video right now, Google is making video is becoming more of a priority. And I think in the next 5 years, you'll see more and more people doing more videos. Again, Facebook is getting into Facebook Live and getting into that idea, and with Periscope on Twitter and for whatnot. And even on Instagram and on your Snapchat, it's all video as well, right? They're outside of picture. So more and more, I think the future of smartphones is going to be going towards video as well.
Yeah, no, those are some really great points. Obviously, with something like Pokemon Go and some of the other apps that are now out there, I think, more augmented reality is somewhat inevitable. We're just going to see more and more AR happening. Like, to me, that's not terribly exciting, but we'll see what happens, right? It depends on how it develops. Because for me, I don't really care about holding up my phone over a bridge to find out its history and then look, find out exactly when it was built and blah blah blah. To me, that's not that interesting, and I don't want to hold up my phone all day long staring at it and looking at it anyway. Especially if I'm out and about, even going for a walk or just enjoying myself in somewhere like Banff or Canmore. That's not my goal. So I see what they're trying to do and where they're going with it, and I think there is some entertainment value there, and I know some people are pretty giddy about this development, but for me it's kind of like take it or leave it.
Right. I actually think that's a pretty neat idea, right? Especially if you go to a museum and stuff, you can maybe hold up your phone to a painting or a sculpture and find out the history, who the maker is. Sometimes when you go to the museum and stuff, they may only give you a small little blurb and it's not enough. And maybe you're right, you got to go home and research it, or you can maybe hold up your camera, maybe you snap it, and it takes you right to the page, and you can read the whole article by a blogger out there who wrote something on that particular painting or sculpture, right? So I think it does have some really awesome value out there. Again, depends on how you're going to use it and who's going to use it as well, right? And kind of staying on this idea of apps that I think you're talking about too, David, I think the more and more smartphones become the future, the more apps are going to be developed on ways to help us run our own lives, because that's, I think, a lot of times what apps are doing, right? You have all these different fitness apps, and then you have this diet apps, and what they do is try to help you keep everything in balance and all these different checks and balances. And there's apps on for your schedule and how to keep your schedule, and there's notepad apps, and so you can keep all your thoughts in order and stuff. So the more and more we continue to use our phones, I think more and more newer apps are going to be developed where they can help you manage your life.
Yeah, apps is kind of interesting. Like, I do see people creating more and more and more of these in the immediate future, but maybe in the long-term future, we may not see as many developed, if only because we now have the ability to easily turn websites into incredible interactive apps that do probably everything an app does and more. So that could be the way of the future, but it remains to be seen. We'll see what happens. But that is definitely what a lot of people are looking to as a business opportunity right now too. Another thing that is probably coming in the future with smartphones is projection. And this is an idea that fascinates me. Now, I'm not necessarily interested in just projection for entertainment value. Somebody holds up their phone and they've got a picture of their rabbit at a video that they've taken, and it's now like, 3D projection on the table. Like, I don't really care that much about that aspect of it. But what might be cool is certainly the business application of projection, right? We'd use screens and PowerPoints to do our presentations, but what if you could do that entirely from your smartphone without any, additional gear and easily, right? Then you could do a lot of great business presentations and meetings with really no, nothing standing in the way between you and making that presentation.
Wow, I love that point, dude, because it's a very good a good idea of what the future may look like, right? We start getting into like the Jetsons and stuff like that, right? And
or Star Wars,
yeah, or even Star Wars and stuff like that, right? And it's got to start somewhere, right? So I do think that these type of medias are going to be developed so people can start using these down the road, right? And you can then be maybe a hologram somewhere, especially when you said Star Wars. You can be a hologram. You could be at a meeting that you're not really there, but you can still talk to thousands of people, and it could be very different because it's 3D. And I think they've done that with different concerts as well. With like a Tupac, I think they made a hologram of him and had a live performance. And I mean, they've already started doing stuff like this already. So you might see more of it coming in the future. I do agree with you.
It's interesting.
Yeah, man. One of the other things I was thinking about too is, as smartphones are in everybody's hands, the thing that I think we need to be concerned about, and I'm going to say this in the concerning side of things, is that there's a GPS function, right? And because there's a GPS function on there, that means somebody is able to track where you are at all times, right? I know there's already problems right now. I think it was Edward Snowden, he kind of blew the whistle saying that the U.S. government can really keep track of people. And so, keep in mind that if there's a GPS function on your phone, that, what he was saying is potentially also able to happen, that people can keep track of you. They know where you are at all times. And, and if these kind of technology, where someone can track where you are at all times gets into the wrong hands, for example, let's say, a thief gets it and he or she figures out, hey, you're not at home right now. They can go break into your home because they know you're you're maybe at work, and they can kind of see that because they're GPS tracking you. So there's some positive and also some maybe negatives to think about as well.
Yeah, I mean, it has nothing to do with my MO, but Ashley Madison, right? That's a site where all this stuff, the information was leaked. So yeah, I mean, privacy issues are going to continue to remain an issue that to be dealt with, right? Not just with smartphones, but with the cloud and big data, which is all somewhat connected in a way, and all the information they require of you anytime you install an app is also ridiculous sometimes. So that's something to look out for.
Agreed.
I think there's going to be a lot of developments with the screen side of things with this future of smartphones. I think they'll definitely have the ability to make them thinner, if that's something that people are looking for. I mean, I don't think cell phones are, bulky in any way. They fit into your pocket, and some people have pretty massive phones that are practically tablets these days, but I don't think they're hard to store away. But we have that ability, I think, to make those screens even thinner than they are. There's
actually TVs that are already that thin that you can actually just roll up, and it's just a really thin piece of, I don't want to say paper because it's not a piece of paper, but it's really just that thin. You can roll it up and throw it in your pocket. So you're right. They could probably do that with cell phones.
Yeah. I mean, that's the whole thing to it being flexible or even potentially foldable, right? You could fold it up into your pocket, then take it out, and then it's much bigger. I mean, that might be something that's coming. Ability to display 3D is something that's probably, more than likely it's coming to smartphones. I don't know why it would be a major priority necessarily. I think it has, certain applications in terms of entertainment and maybe even some of the stuff they want to do with VR or AR or whatever else. But that's probably one of the reasons why, we're beginning to look at 3D or, 3D projection might be part of that too. Translucent screens. I mean, I think that's exactly what you were saying, Mav. It's foldable and it's translucent and doesn't have to be, have any huge processing power behind it to order to work. So that's kind of where interesting places where this tech is going.
Yeah, for sure. We can watch all the different movies out there too, and they're always standing in front of a piece of glass, and all the technology's on the glass, and they can touch it and they move stuff around.
Like Minority Report.
Yeah, exactly. And if they're doing those kind of things in movies, and they're seeing, they're showing us what the future can look like in maybe 10, 20, 30 years from now, if they have the technology or at least the understanding of how to do it, there's nothing saying that they don't actually already have the technology and they're just releasing that technology really slow to us, or it could be super expensive for them to release it right now. So they're, releasing one, getting the funds, releasing the next, getting the funds and releasing slowly, right? And unfortunately, if you're the company, you're making a lot of money, but if you're the consumer, you're spending a lot of money to slowly get this, technology over time.
Yeah, exactly.
One of the things I was thinking about too is, with the future of smartphones is the fact that more and more countries or third world countries, for example, are starting to get online and get on the grid. And, with 7.5 million people on this planet now.
7 billion?
7 billion, yeah, sorry, and a half. 7.5 billion people on this planet. That's the number I'm trying to get to. Or more now. I know there's a world-wide counter that you can actually go check out on online here. It's actually really interesting. You just look, you stare at it, and it's just the numbers just keep going up and up and up, and it's just mind blowing. But more and more people are going to start getting online or having access to the internet, and we may have to start building an infrastructure that can handle that all the data that's going to be consumed, as well as all the data that's going to go on to Google. And I think that's probably one of the things that Google is doing, is they're trying to really clean up all this extra data out there that's really not valuable to anybody, because people aren't taking care of their websites or people aren't updating their websites. There's not a lot of new information on there. So I think over time you'll see that, because I know we can Google anything right now, and in a split second they have 10 million articles available to you. But really the main thing most people ever look at is the first maybe 3 pages maximum.
Yeah.
Other than that, everything after that is pretty insignificant, right? So I think the future of smell phones, it might be smelling phones.
Yeah, it might be.
To smell stuff through your phone, right? So so you might be able to do that. So even though I made a mistake, but it's probably true, right? That you'll be able to smell different things on your phone.
Yeah, no kidding. That's great. Here's something that I was kind of thinking about is that, we have different screens for a lot of different purposes. We have computer monitors here in the lab. We've got smartphones, we got tablets, we got laptops, we've got TVs, we got movie theater screens and projectors. I mean, at some point, don't you think it's possible that, smartphones could be all those things. They could be amalgamated into a single device, a multifunction device that can turn into TVs or even potentially gaming consoles. Yes, complete with controllers and not just the way we play games on smartphones, which may be fun and they're good for what they are, but like full on gaming consoles like the Nintendo or an Xbox or, you know, desktop screens and so on. So that was something that I was beginning to think about, just the fact that we don't quite have that multifunction device yet. And I mean, that would be a fairly disruptive idea, to be fair. I mean, because, you know, you have Apple selling iPods and iPhones, and you have all kinds of companies selling different devices for different purposes. So that would upset the market if such a thing existed. But I thought that was something that would be possible.
I think it would be very possible, but I think if you're looking at it from the business standpoint, you really don't want that, because the more...
that's what I mean.
Yeah, the more you can sell to consumers of the exact same product, but in a slightly different format. You know, that's why we have all these, you know, I've had this conversation with a lot of different people, and it kind of upsets me that, you know, we have so many companies making the exact same product, right? We should have, you know, one or two companies making, you know, stuff that we can all utilize. And my biggest example I give always is the light bulb. You know, why do we have a regular light bulb and an LED? Why don't we just make LEDs? And why do we have to make, you know, so many different options? Let's keep it very simple. I think the smartphone, I think, is going to start doing that. It's going to start keeping things super simple. And as, you know, different apps and different companies go out there and say, hey, you know what? Why don't we make a cell phone that is a Sony PlayStation type phone, and you can add controllers to it, and all wireless, right? Why not?
Yeah.
And you get the VR glasses on, and you can start using your phone and all that thing, right? Because I think that's what Google did, didn't it? You just connect your phone right to the glasses.
They had Google Glass, yeah.
Yeah, so they've already, you know, started doing these things, and we can already see these things, but they're not really in the masses right now. They're obviously in that bell curve on the way up. You know, as that technology keeps changing, they'll probably keep, you know, adding new features to it, and then try to attract people that way.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what you're talking about is the essence of free enterprise, and ultimately it's what allows us to do business too. So we can't complain too much about, you know, companies not having a complete corner on different markets. But I definitely see what you're saying. Like, we don't necessarily need 80 companies making light bulbs.
Yeah, we don't, right? We just need 2-3 good companies. You know, they can all and make the right light bulb. We don't, you know, if we have the ability, for example, I know we're going off on a little bit of a tangent, but, you know, if we have the ability to make a light bulb that lasts, you know, let's say 1,000 hours, you know, that's your regular light bulb, or a light bulb that lasts 25 years. Wouldn't it just be smarter to make a light bulb that lasts 25 years? Why are we making 1,000, you know, hour light bulbs for? We're just wasting resources, right? And I think that's what the cell phone is going to do. It's going to allow people to find ways not to waste resources. So I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting developments, and we'd love to hear what you think about this too. Do you have any final thoughts, Matt?
You know what? No, I don't.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things I think that are going to come, David, and I think you know too, and I think you've said some really good points, and you know, especially about the VR and the AR stuff. So you know, let's see what happens in the next 2 to 5 years, and maybe we will become the Jetsons, or it'll be all Star Wars, or, you know, Guardians of the Galaxy or something.
Sounds good, man. All right. Well, this has been Using Your Power. Find us at usingyourpower.com. Go to our website, leave a comment, send us a message, or download our free audio course. And you can also do the same on YouTube and connect with us anywhere there are podcasts. Leave a rating and review on iTunes, TuneIn, Stitcher, or wherever else you happen to be.
Awesome. Have yourself a great day.